OK, to debate this now, I'm joined by the head of campaigns at the Taxpayers Alliance, Elliot Keck, and resident Dr. Basha Mukherjee. Good evening to you both. Thank you for your company. Basha, I think the average wage for a Brit is something like £37,000, around about there. For a resident doctor, junior doctor, once they pass core training, they're on around £67,000, so double the average wage. Why are you demanding even more money from the taxpayer?
Good evening. Just wanted to just double check that I'm at the end of my training. I'm 1 month away from becoming a GP. And at the end of my training, that is the number that you're talking about, that 67 mark. That is at the end of training after years of experience. So to say that some people are on six-figure incomes of this cohort that have voted to strike, I think that's actually misrepresenting the truth, because in reality, that is nowhere near what any resident doctor is actually earning at the moment. You'd have to be really, really far into your training. You'd have to be like 9, 11 years of specialty training in order to earn anywhere close to that figure. And on top of that, you would have to be doing a lot of extra work, overtime, locum shifts in order to get that payment. So in reality, most junior doctors are nowhere near that figure at all. OK, Elliot, your take?
I think this is a despicable strike by a group of radicalised trots that are determined to hold this country and this government to ransom. They received a 22% pay rise in the latest pay review last year. That's far, far more than anybody, not just in the private sector, but even in the public sector. Doctors are very well paid. They have a fantastic pension scheme, unparalleled anywhere in the private sector. They get their tuition fees massively subsidised, and yet, despite the fact that they got that 22% pay rise, they are still not happy. And unfortunately, a radicalised minority of doctors are going to end up leading to people dying, I'm afraid to say, as a result of trying to squeeze ever more money out of the taxpayer.
Basha, how many deaths is worth another pay rise?
No deaths, and that is why this is the whole point. We don't want to be striking. We don't want to have to go through this process again after 2 years of striking. And, the message was pretty clear from the beginning that the whole time it was about pay restoration of the levels of 2008. And the net pay that would equate to would be £1 billion, which the government has already overspent triple that in order to staff these shortages during these strike periods. And, you're talking about tuition fees being subsidized. I don't know what world that is, but that's not the case, definitely, for me. I was in university for 5-6 years, and I've definitely got a hefty tuition fee that I'm still paying for. So the NHS is not a nice place to work in. And I'm working in GP practices now, and I still feel that there is just, I wouldn't really wish it on my enemy, really. You have to sit on bins. You don't even get to sit on chairs as a resident doctor.
Well, it's actually, Basha,
your computers.
It's actually sometimes not a nice place to be treated in either. And if reports are correct, Elliot, if the government caves in again to resident doctors and gives them another pay rise, there ain't no money left. So the money's going to come from the NHS budget.
Yeah, it'd be an absolute disaster. And just to pick up on the tuition fees point, I'm afraid the cost of training a doctor is actually more like £20,000-30,000, not the £9,000 that I pay for tuition fees. So in Australia, the average medical degree costs 2 to 3 times what it costs a British doctor per year. And you're absolutely right, it will come straight out of the NHS budget. And the NHS already spends about 65% of its budget on staffing. That compares to sort of 45, 40, even 35% in countries like Ireland and New Zealand, where they spend a lot more money on hospitals, on machines, on beds, etc. And that's because I'm afraid the doctors in the NHS and other staff in the NHS, every single year, they try and squeeze as much money out of the taxpayers, as much money out of the NHS as possible with these absolutely absurd pay demands. And all it means is waiting lists continue to grow, people continue to die, and nobody gets any better other than the doctors.
Basha, can I ask you?
This is the point, isn't it? This is the point, that the taxpayers are already paying so much money in training these student doctors, only for them to leave the country because after graduating, the conditions of work are just so dire. And, we keep talking about the fact that the pay does increase slowly when they go into training. There aren't enough training posts. So they're stuck at a level because they haven't got enough jobs. So of course they're going to look for better options abroad. They're going to look for better options in the private market, doing anything else but being a doctor, whether that includes, doing Ubering, whatever it takes, So this costs the taxpayer at the end of the day.
So,
well, how about this? How about we scrap the pension scheme that NHS doctors currently receive, move them onto a fully funded defined contribution scheme, make them pay full price for their tuition fees, full price, and then they can have a pay rise. I think that'd be a fair deal for everybody.
How about we get treated the same as what doctors were treated 15 years ago? I think that's fair.
But anybody
growth for 15 years.
Anybody working
is 10% below what it was before the pandemic.
I mean, anybody. I'd say most people watching this now would say that their pay and their, just remind the viewers, Basha, of the pay increase you got last time from the government, please.
It's sorry. What was the question?
What was the pay rise last time? You just got 28%, was it?
That's correct, but that
right.
Still doesn't go down.
Okay, nobody watching this now would have got a 28% pay rise in their life. I'd probably argue even a 2.8% pay rise in the last 15 years.
What does that actually look like in real money? That's what we have to ask.
What are you? Do you mind asking what you're earning? Sorry to keep interrupting. You don't have to divulge. Tell me to do one if you want. But do you mind me asking what you're roughly earning?
Well, you can look that up. I'm a GP trainee. I'm a GP ST3, and that information is available. If you look at what London GP trainees are earning roughly, that's about as much we're earning at the moment. And this is me at the end of my training. I'm 1 month away from becoming a qualified GP.
Around 60 grand then?
Oh, well, I don't see that in my bank account for sure.
Ben, the key thing is NHS productivity remains about 12% lower than it was before the pandemic. If anything, we should be talking about pay reductions for doctors until that productivity significantly increases. And yet they got a 22% pay rise last year. Imagine any other industry where workers were working 10% less effectively than they were 5 to 6 years ago. Do you think they'd be getting a pay increase?
All right, Basha, last word to you. Are we rewarding failure?
Are we rewarding failure? The question should be, how can you possibly not fail in a system in hospitals where everything else is failing? So of course the productivity is going to be low. Of course your productivity is going to be low when your computers keep crashing 3 times during a shift, which elongates your session for like an hour at the end of every single day. Of course these things add up, and of course these things weigh down on the quality of work that you can produce at the end. We're ashamed of the quality of work that we're producing at the end as well, and that's not our fault. That's down to the whole system being broken.
Okay. Guys, thank you very much for a fascinating debate. Really appreciate your company. Elliot Keck, Head of Campaigns at the Taxpayers Alliance, and resident Dr. Basha Mukherjee. Thank you. Have a good evening.